Alright guys, we're on shelf number 4 now. We're going into the end of E's and going through to the beginning of G's. So let's get this shit started. What do we got here? Okay. Evil Dead 2. I know most of you thinking, hey Brandon, why don't you have Evil Dead? And it hasn't been at a price that I thought was reasonable yet. This was like $7.99 at Best Buy. And in my opinion, Evil Dead 2 is better than Evil Dead. I'm really looking forward to Cabin in the Woods. Because that looks like a great throwback to this type of movie. The effects in this are just outrageous. The movie is funny as hell, but it's gory too, and that's what I love about it. There are so few films that fall into this genre of movie. Like Peter Jackson used to do it with Evil Dead, Dead Alive, and that's how he started off. And Sam Raimi, who's now one of the biggest directors in film, he did the Spider-Man trilogy, and he recently did Drag Me to Hell, which is kind of like a cool companion piece to this. I really enjoyed this movie. I like movies like this. A lot of horror aficionados really understand and get the references and just the zany, just outrageousness of it all. And this is not one of those people that if you introduce to a lot of like brand new people to the genre, they won't get it. They'll be really pissed off at you for showing it because they'll think it's just stupid. But they can go to hell. When I bought this next movie, the cashier ripped a piece of his chest hair out, glued it to the front of the Blu-ray case, and then poured gasoline on it, lit it on fire, and punched me in the face 7 times. Because it's a man's movie. It's The Expendables. Don't ask me why I got this. And by the way, for those of you thinking that happened, there is not a cashier that I know of that would do that. So if you're looking to find him and purchase something from him, he doesn't exist yet. But anyway, The Expendables, it was a big, dumb, cheesy fun. The second one's coming out later this summer. I don't know, guys. It's like the most homoerotic movie since 300, you know? Just a bunch of dudes punching people in the face. Not a lot of plot, not a lot of acting, just explosions. The thing that I disliked about this movie, other than the dialogue and the general atmosphere of the entire film, I like the movie because it knows what it is. It's an 80s throwback to those big, dumb action movies, and I respect it for that. But the thing that I disliked about this was all the CGI blood. I hate CG blood. Can we say that right now? Stop with the CG blood. It looks so stupid and fake. It's so lazy to just go into After Effects or some shit and apply some stupid blood. It looks so stupid. Just put one of those, what were they called? Oh God, why can't I remember them? The little packets that explode off a little detonator thing, and it looked like blood, like a gunshot. I hate these goddamn CG blood fests. They're stupid. Stop doing them. Brandon, calm down. Hang on a second. Alright, this one I recently watched the other day. It's extremely loud and incredibly close. One of the most hated Best Picture nominees of the past 10 years. To be honest, this didn't deserve to be nominated for Best Picture when films like Girl with the Dragon Tattoo or Drive or a bunch of other ones were much better and didn't get the nomination, but this did. This was a touchy subject, obviously, because of 9/11, and a lot of people thought it was exploiting it. A lot of people hated the kid in it. I thought the kid was all right. I really bought this movie because it says right there, see, look at that? It says Tom Hanks. So I'm like, hey, this is a Tom Hanks movie. He's in this movie 10 minutes, if that. And, I don't know. It was alright. It wasn't as bad as a lot of people were saying it was, but it's not as good as a lot of other people were saying it was. I'm literally right in the middle. It's a decent movie. Speaking of those old, well, this one came out in the 90s, but those 90s big, dumb action movies, it's Face Off. Literally, I don't know how they got this movie off the ground, because the guy who thought of this must have gone into the room and sat down and seriously looked at all the executives in the room. They're like, hey, we need a next big action movie. He looks at them and he says, how about we do this? One guy takes his face off, puts it on the other guy, and that guy takes his face off and puts it on the other guy. There we go, that's the movie. And then everyone's like, hey, but wouldn't you tell because of the voices? Wouldn't the voices be different? They'd be like, no, they have vocal cord surgery or something, and so that their voice sounds like the other guy's voice. Okay, yeah, let's do it. It's not really a body switching movie, is it? No, it's going to be a fucking action movie. And I loved it, and I bought it. Like, not only bought the movie, obviously, because it's here, but I bought the whole premise. It's stupid, but it's so well executed. The action scenes, the gunfights, they're so well executed. And this was before Nicolas Cage is already insane, but this is before he just started being like a walking, talking piece of shit in movies. This was back when he was a badass. John Travolta had a pretty cool cast. It was done by John Woo, who later did like Mission Impossible 2, and I really like this movie. It's one of my favorite 90s action movies. Back when, like, Cage was doing this and Con Air and all those big, dumb, like, Jerry Bruckheimer type movies. They're stupid, but I love the hell out of them all. And this was a cool one. If you haven't seen Face Off, check it out. Speaking of action movies, this one I was pleasantly surprised. It's Fast 5. I had heard a lot of good things about it, surprisingly. I could give 3 shits for the first all of them. I don't give a shit about any of them. The first one was decent enough, and the second and third one, and fourth one, Jesus Christ, you could literally throw out the window. I just had a mini seizure there, sorry. You could throw out the window, and I would not, they were fine. Whatever, I don't give a shit about them. But this one was not bad. It's got a good cast. Wait, did I say good cast? I meant it had a big cast, because you would say, hey, Brandon, you just said a good cast, but I see the names on the cover. It says Vin Diesel, Paul Walker, and Dwayne Johnson. How can you say that's a good cast? You're right. I apologize. I misspoke. It's a big cast. No, but these guys they're fine in this. I mean, they're all pretty much one-note characters, but the action scenes in this are phenomenal. The marriage between CGI and actual stunts is a decent number. You know what I mean? It's not all CG, which I like. There's some cool car stunts and stuff in here, but it's a decent movie. There's a bunch of hot chicks running around in bathing suits. It's big dumb fun, but it's not as dumb as its predecessors. I can tell you that much. This next movie here isn't so much a movie as it is an experiment, in my opinion. It's Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, the Criterion Edition. For those of you who don't know about the Criterion Editions, they're like practically the best the movie will ever be. There will never be another there will never be a better edition of this until they come up with some new format, which I'm sure they will, and I'll be shit out of luck. But either way, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. I enjoy the movie. I liked it. That's why I bought it, but it's not for everyone, and it's not one of those movies that I can really even recommend to people. It's absolutely batshit crazy. You will not come out of it going, oh, that was cool. It's one of those movies you have to kind of think on, and then do a lot of ecstasy while you, I don't know. It's very strange as shit. So, Johnny Depp, Benicio del Toro. It's by Terry Gilliam, if that's any consolation, you know what I mean. The next one's one of my favorite movies of all time. It's Fight Club. I love this movie. I love Edward Norton and Brad Pitt in it. David Fincher, just an amazing film. One of those movies that did poorly in the box office, but then created this gigantic cult following. And who was it? Patrice O'Neal said that this is the white person's Scarface. Scarface. If you notice, like in all those MTV cribs, all these rappers have Scarface on the walls. And this is the white man's Scarface. I really thought that was a funny quote because it's true. A lot of people connect with this movie for some reason. But I think it's completely justified. This is the 10th anniversary edition. It's got a cool, like, slip sleeve thingy. But a great movie. A great movie. If you haven't seen this, you don't know what you're missing. Even you should at least watch the film, even if you don't like it. But I mean, it's one of those required viewings, in my opinion. This was nominated for Picture in 2010, I believe. I don't know how this works anymore. Yeah, 2010. I love this goddamn movie. It's The Fighter. It's one of those movies like Rocky that literally just makes you want to stand up and cheer. That's the dumbest thing I've ever said. But either way, I love this. I love the cast. Christian Bale and Melissa Leo won Best Supporting Actor and Actress, and deservedly. Amy Adams is great in this. It's just a great, true story of how one guy can, overcome all obstacles and succeed. It's a great movie. Final Destination, the first one. I've seen all of them. The Final Destination, the fourth one, is probably one of my most hated films of all time. I could not stand that movie in theaters. I haven't watched it since, and I never will. That's the one I don't have. I have the other ones on DVD, I believe. The fifth one was all right. This one's the best by far, though. Final Destination. Just a cool premise back when they were having all those 90s, 2000, after Scream revitalized the horror genre in 96. Then they started coming out with just every teenage horror movie under the sun. Urban Legend, um, Valentine, I Know What You Did Last Summer. And then there was like the Final Destination. And this was basically, these guys cheat. This guy has a premonition. He thinks this plane's going to explode. He winds up getting off the plane, and a bunch of other kids get thrown off the plane because they were involved in this scuffle. And as they're in the airport, they do see the plane explode, and now it's death coming back to get them all because they cheated death. It's a pretty cool, like, Rube Goldberg type scenarios with all this, like, these traps that are set up almost by nature itself. It's pretty cool. Check it out. Stifler's in it. Sean William Scott. This was, I think, his second movie. I think he did this immediately after American Pie. Or maybe before American Pie. I can't remember. I think it's after. But either way, pretty good. This one's Danielle's. I have no idea. Final Fantasy. I don't know. She likes all that stuff. That's weird, but I never got into it. I can't honestly say anything about it. Looking at the screenshots on the back, I mean, the CG looks pretty cool. But either way, I can't say anything about it. This movie here, I remember seeing the trailer for it and being like, this is going to be lame as shit. And my dad rented it or something, and somehow I saw it, and I laughed my ass off. It's fired up. And it's by the guy who directed Easy A. This was his first one, I believe. He did Easy A, and then he did Friends with Benefits. But I laughed my ass off because there's so many cool, funny one-liners and these little quips, and the sarcastic nature of the two leads is just hilarious to watch. And for some reason, I thought it was going to be like a cheerleading movie, but it's a buddy comedy, and it really is funny. Like, you should definitely give it a rent. It's not hilarious or anything, but I mean, the chemistry between the two leads are hilarious. It really is funny. Some of the one-liners in there is absolutely ridiculous. Forgetting Sarah Marshall. I love Jason Segel. This was Russell Brand, Mila Kunis. It was when they had that whole string of Judd Apatow comedies. They had Knocked Up and then Superbad, and this might have been the next one. I can't remember where Drillbit Taylor was in there, if anyone can remember that movie. But either way, this was and the 40-Year-Old Virgin, of course. This was probably one of my favorites of those. I really enjoyed it. It's got smart writing. It's funny. You get to see Jason Segel's dick. Forrest Gump. Let's just switch subjects. Forrest Gump. Forrest Gump's one of my favorite movies of all time. I know a lot of people say that, and a lot of people just hate this movie. I don't know why. It's so sweet. Why does anyone hate Forrest Gump? It's just a huge testament to the human spirit, and Tom Hanks plays one of the most likable characters in the history of cinema, in my opinion. It's just a fun story. I mean, it's a sweeping epic of life, and I love it. I love this movie. I can't say enough about it. The picture quality on this, again, I've mentioned the Sapphire series, is beautiful, phenomenal. Robert Zemeckis directed this, and I wish he would come back to feature films instead of doing those goddamn motion capture shit that he's done for the past 5-10 years. Forrest Gump, if you haven't seen this, you're not a movie fan. It's Friday the 13th, Killer Cut, the remake. My feeling is on these remakes is like, when they remake certain movies and bastardize them, that's what I have a problem with. But when the movie's Friday the 13th, and I'm going to say it, Friday the 13th, the original, is not a classic by any means. I mean, of good. It is a classic now. It's a horror classic, but it's not like a great film. You know what I mean? And I have no problem with them remaking a movie like that and just ratcheting up the blood and the gore and the tits, because there's so much nudity, especially in the Killer Cut anyway. And I love the Friday the 13th series, as dumb as they are, and I know a lot of people just hate all that stuff. But I've always grown up on those. I like those 80s cheesy horror films, all the Nightmare on Elm Streets, all Halloweens, all those movies. I really liked, and it's just kind of fun, I guess, to see the character again, no matter what they do to it. And this was one of those produced by Michael Bay ones, so it's going to be fucking just anger and violence. But I mean, whatever. I just like to see the character again. And in this one, he's pretty badass. Um, Anybody who has seen this, though, and I guess this is a spoiler for those who haven't seen it, the beginning, like the first 15 minutes of the movie, every single character in the beginning dies, and and then it just goes Friday the 13th. In theaters, I 100% honestly thought that was the end of the movie because I was so shocked. I was like, what the hell just happened? Why did we have all those characters? And they literally just died right before the credits, and then the movie starts. And I was just like, what? What is happening? For any of you who have seen that, it really was just like jarring to me. I didn't understand what the hell was going on. Friends with Benefits. I just mentioned the director Will Gluck, who did the Fired Up movie. Mila Kunis is just a sweetheart, and Justin Timberlake. Can we talk about him for a minute? I know I mentioned earlier Leonardo DiCaprio, how I used to hate him, and I have a feeling, like, originally when these actors start out and I dislike them, and then they start to grow on me, like him. When Justin Timberlake started out, I was like, Justin Timberlake starting to act? And he did like movies like Alpha Dog, and I could see that he's not bad. And then he did like The Social Network, and then this, and it's like he has a natural screen presence that's not that bad actually. And I'm wondering if someday am I going to look back and go, I can't believe I hated Taylor Lautner and Robert Pattinson because they're such good actors. I don't think I will. I don't think I will. Please God, don't let me ever say, oh God. But either way, Friends with Benefits. It's pretty much no strings attached. With better, well, no, I can't say better actresses. It's so weird because this movie, No Strings Attached, which is literally the exact same plot. Two friends start having sex with each other because they don't want the intricacies or difficulties that go with a relationship. And that one starred Ashton Kutcher and Natalie Portman. Natalie Portman and Mila Kunis had just come off of Black Swan. Mila Kunis and Ashton Kutcher also starred in That 70s Show. It's kind of a weird thing that they pretty much just picked the exact same people. This has a pretty good supporting cast, though. It's got like Woody Harrelson and Richard Jenkins. Jenna Elfman, who, where the hell has she been? I thought she was dead, but either way. It's a funny movie. It's a funny romantic comedy. Whatever. This was another one that Danielle bought that I wasn't really expecting too much, but I turned out to be pleasantly surprised. It's the remake of Fright Night. I was never a huge fan of the original Fright Night, so like I said, I didn't give a shit what they did to it, to be honest. But this was an enjoyable movie. Colin Farrell does a pretty good job, and it's fun to see McLovin again. It's always fun to see McLovin, in my opinion. But it's kind of got like a Disturbia feel with slightly more edgier effects and blood and shit. It's I like this, that Anton Yelchin guy. Yelkin, I don't know how the hell to pronounce his name. I don't care. But well, I do care. I'm sorry, Anton. But I think it's Anton Yelchin. Either way, he's not too bad of an actor. He started off in like Alpha Dog. He's a little guy who was kidnapped. The little guy who was kidnapped, like he's a dwarf. Either way, Fright Night, it's not bad. A movie that's fucking amazing. One of the best, in my opinion, one of the best war movies ever made. It's Full Metal Jacket. Stanley Kubrick's Odyssey of Vietnam. The first 45 minutes of this movie when they're at the training, it's not really a montage because it's a story that's just they're training to go over, and all these Vincent D'Onofrio and Arlie Ermey, who plays the drill sergeant, who was a drill sergeant in real life. Some of the shit that he comes up with off the top of his head is amazing stuff. I love this movie. It's got an awesome soundtrack. The Paint It Black at the end is so, and the ending shot with them singing the Mickey Mouse theme song. It's so good. Such a great movie. Just about loss of innocence and how war can truly mess you up as an individual. A great movie, though. One of my favorites. I've mentioned this before. Funny People. Judd Apatow's third movie. Adam Sandler, Seth Rogen. I really enjoyed this movie. A lot of people was disappointed because they wanted another Adam Sandler movie. But this one was more... There was something more to it. He wasn't really playing the lovable buffoon. He was kind of an asshole in this movie. And... basically toys with the premise of if you are told you're going to die and you accept that, once you finally accept that and come to terms with it, what happens if you don't? And you're still in that mindset of being so bitter. I kind of like that notion of a movie, but it is long, too long for a comedy, but there's a bunch of funny bits in here. Jonah Hill and Jason Schwartzman as Rogen's roommates are hilarious. Some of their comments on society and celebrities and stuff is really spot on, and I liked the movie. I thought it was something different. Another Apatow produced movie, Get Him to the Greek. This has such a funny soundtrack. Some of the songs that if you listen to that he sings are hilarious. Russell Brand. The weirdest thing when I watched this movie, I got out of the theater and I never thought that I'd say this, but I was like, Puff Daddy was like the best part of that movie, and he is. He totally steals the show. He's funny as hell as Jonah Hill's music manager of the company that he works for, his boss. And this was Jonah Hill at his like most dangerously obese, but this was a funny movie. I liked it. It had some pretty good writing. Like I said, a funny soundtrack to the music, the songs that he sings. Rose Byrne is gorgeous, but absolutely hilarious as Russell Brand's like nympho ex-wife. It's funny as hell. I laughed. Classic 80s comedy. It's Ghostbusters. Who are you gonna call? Ghostbusters. Either way, Ivan Reitman. I've heard for a long time they're trying to do a third movie to this. The sequel was good enough. It was all right. The first one is the best, obviously, though. Some funny effects. It's funny watching this now to see how like the claymation and stuff like that. How they've totally done away with all that technology. But I mean, a great cast: Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd. You couldn't ask for more. Just a great breakthrough science fiction comedy. If you haven't seen Ghostbusters, again, you're not a true film fan, or you should see it. You got to see Ghostbusters. This recently came out. It's The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. This is an awesome set, by the way. It's got like hours of special features, which I love about Blu-rays. This was an intense movie to get through. I'd seen the original Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. I haven't yet seen. I've seen bits and pieces of the sequels. I don't know where the state of this. If they're doing sequels, if David Fincher's attached to it. I know it made its money back, but that was about it. It wasn't like a huge success, which is a shame because it was very well done, very tense, very moody. And, I mean, some of the stuff that Fincher can do with cameras is just ridiculous. If you watch some of the special features on there, you know how anal he is about all that stuff. And it's just cool to see a director honestly give a shit about his stuff. And Rooney Mara is terrific as the lead character. Daniel Craig is, I mean, I've never seen him really in a bad role. But an excellent film. Very tough subject matter. I mean, rape and animals. Not raping animals. Rape and then there's animals getting killed. I should specify that shit. You know, incest. All kinds of weird taboo subjects that get explored here. But a great movie. Long, but worth it. This movie, was kind of almost like a predecessor to Horrible Bosses, just with the cast, because it's got Charlie Day and Jason Sudeikis. That was just kind of funny to see them too. It was funny to explore those two then, and then they went on to Horrible Bosses. But Charlie Day is one of my favorite TV actors right now, and It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I heard Jason Sudeikis. I like SNL. A lot of people just think it's gone down the shit, but I think it's been, I don't know. I laugh every time I watch it at some point. And I think Jason Sudeikis is one of the best on there. I heard him, Kristen Wiig, and Andy Samberg are going to be leaving the end of this year. And I mean, who can blame them? They've got promising careers ahead of them. I wish them the best. It's a shame because they're the funniest people on there, in my opinion. But either way, Going the Distance pretty much just loves romantic comedy. Drew Barrymore and Justin Long fall in love, and then they try to do a long-distance relationship. A really cheesy, dumb plot, but the entire cast is game, and they're funny as hell. Some of the one-liners that they have. And I don't mind Justin Long. I think he's pretty funny. And Drew Barrymore I've always enjoyed for the most part. I mean, pretty uneventful, and a movie that's instantly forgettable. But while you're watching it, you have a good time. It's funny. And that, like I said, the cast is great in this. Through like 2000 until like the early 2000s, to like 2005, I'll say, Ben Affleck was one of like for the past like 5 to 7 years, he was one of the most hated people in Hollywood. Now he's one of the most respected as of right now. People hated him after he did like Gigli and Surviving Christmas and Paycheck and Jersey Girl and all those movies. People just absolutely hated him. And then he took a break. He did movies like Hollywoodland and Smoking Aces, just like bit parts in these movies, Extract, that people thought were okay. And then he directed Gone Baby Gone. And that was where people were like, holy shit, this guy can do something behind the camera. Maybe he should stay there. Maybe he should stay behind the camera. He directs Casey Affleck, Morgan Freeman, Ed Harris, and Michelle Monaghan. This movie it's really good. It's along the lines of like The Departed, where it's such a Boston-esque feel. He has a real feel for that town, and we all saw The Town and how good he can be in front of the camera and behind the camera. The Town was one of my favorite movies of 2010. Gone Baby Gone is as good in my opinion. It's a great movie, pretty much about a controversial task. It's one of those controversial topic, and it's one of those movies that I guarantee at the ending you will be talking about it with the person next to you thinking, which way should it have gone? Because there's two roads it takes. It takes one road, and it's a pretty cool ending. The fact that it talks about things, you know what I mean? It's not one of those movies that just wraps everything up. It's all tidy and happy at the end. It's definitely a conversation starter. This is the last one on the shelf number 4. It's Goodfellas. One of my favorite movies of all time. The opening scene to this with the guy in the trunk is just amazing. Joe Pesci is just friggin' brilliant in this role. Ray Liotta and Robert De Niro need to start doing good movies again. I don't know what's going on with them either, but Goodfellas was one of the best movies of the 90s, in my opinion. I think it came out in 1990, right? Yeah, 1990. Just an absolute epic movie. In my opinion, and I know a lot of people will disagree, I think this is a better film than The Godfather. When concerning the mafia and the mob, I just can't say enough about Goodfellas. If you haven't seen it, you have to watch it. Martin Scorsese's best movie, in my opinion. I love all of his movies, but Goodfellas is his defining film. That's about it. I will be back for shelf number 5 shortly. Hope you guys enjoyed. Have a good one. I missed the button. I'm sorry.